So my name is Christian. I am the RFP Benchmarking Systems Manager here at RPAG, and I'm very excited to walk you through the RFP Express system. I know that this is a system that's been highly sought after and very excited to kind of go through the way of processing a benchmarking report, and we're going to dive in. Okay, so RFP Express, there's a couple ways you can get into the system. The first is on the top left. You're going to see the menu drop down and you can click on RFP Express from there. Now, this is a great way to start an RFP Express report if you are diving into a prospect meeting where you don't have that prospect built into the system just yet. So you may have been just starting a conversation. Maybe you had a great meeting earlier on in the day and you just kind of want to have something ready to go for them. You can go through here, click on RFP Express, and then you could start inputting the system, inputting the plan information from scratch. Now, the other way is going to be through the plan level. So you go into your client, you select the plan, and here I am on my sample client, sample plan. I'm going to scroll right down. Now, if you have the investments already filled out, and you've got your fees already filled out for the incumbent, as well as the demographics, all of this information will flow into the RFP Express report. So I'm going to click on RFP Express down there in the benchmarking section. And here, if you've done any previous reports on the same client, you'll have that information saved here. And if you've archived any reports, you'll have that in here as well. So when I click on Start New Report, you're going to see a lot of the data already flows right in. That's what we want to see. Everything is very cohesive here at RPAG. We'll begin with naming the report, the city and state that the client's in, the plan type. So with plan type, we are currently offering startup 401k pricing as well as for regular traditional 401k pricing from our record keepers. Now, for those firms that have really large teams, multiple advisors, you might have one or two operations associates that are generating several reports for different team members. You're going to notice this plus icon or the dropdown is going to be very handy for them. So you can actually do reports in lieu of other people on your team. Let's say you just hired a new advisor associate. They're not even in the system just yet, but you know that they're going to want to get their feet running on the ground. You can click that plus icon here. And you can add those custom advisor details. These advisor details get translated into the report as well as passed on to the record keeper so they know exactly who this pricing is going to be for. The system does track whether it's going to be client or prospect. We have our current provider that'll be listed there. If you are working with a very unique provider that we don't have listed here just yet, we're more than happy to get that added. All you have to do is call support in, and we'll be able to do that. The same goes for the TPA as well. I know that there are hundreds and hundreds of different TPAs out there, and everyone has their own preferred TPA to work with. Our list is pretty extensive, but if for whatever reason on the off chance they're not listed there, again, you can call in and we can add that to the TPA list as well. Now, for information that is required on this screen, you'll see what we do need is going to be in these red asterisks. So plan assets, participants, very important. That's the foundation of pricing and benchmarking plans. But you do have the option to have annual contributions and distributions. My recommendation is if you have that information readily available, please input it because the more that you refine the incumbent plan data into the system, the more refined your instant quote benchmarking fees are going to be. Now, if you don't have information or if you have ballpark information, it's still good to use and get an idea. Otherwise, it isn't required. I could leave these two data points with 0. Sometimes you're working with a prospect in which you might not just have that information readily available. That's okay. You can still move on without these two data points, contributions and distributions. It is good to have your incumbent fees readily available here. Again, if you're working with a prospect, you don't have that it's okay. We can leave all of this at 0 and we can move forward. You can add it into the report even after going past the screen. So don't feel like it's the end of the world. You're unable to add that information in. You can definitely do that towards the end when you are about ready to generate a report. So without me talking so much, you can see that a lot of this data is already pre-populated. I'm ready to go. I can hit next. Now, this might be a familiar screen to those that are in the provider analysis benchmarking system. We do gather these two data points. So how likely is a plan to move to a different record keeper? Very unlikely and not likely will show as more of a benchmarking plan where you're not really going to be moving to different record keeper. At least you don't have plans to. This is more of you accomplishing your fiduciary duty. That's okay. Other situations, somewhat likely and very likely. So you are working with a client or a prospect. They're not happy with their current record keeper. They really are interested in seeing what's out there in the market. So you're going to mark that question with what your current situation is. Advisor compensation, whether you want it to be included in the report or not. This also will be translated to the record keepers. So when you do send out that custom quote, or if you obtain an instant quote, that that advisor compensation that you're going to be requesting will be included in that email that gets sent out to them. If I click no and I move forward with the report, you can still add advisor compensation in there at the very end. So you'll notice that we are very flexible with the way advisors want to be able to work in their reports. So we gather those two data points. I'm going to click next. And here's where the magic happens. So here you're going to see a ton of different instant quote options populating on our screen. We're going to start on the left side. So you'll see that we've got bundled and unbundled filters that'll be able to help us out on exactly what direction you're going to want to go with your plan that you're benchmarking. So if you've got an unbundled quote and you think it's time that the plan is large enough to where you think you're going to get more competitive pricing as a bundled solution, then you can click on bundled and the system will automatically filter all of those solutions for you. Same goes with unbundled. Then we have quote types. So here, this next section, you have traditional, exchange, PEPs, and MEPs. So the traditional quotes are going to be there's going to be no additional party servicing your plan. It's going to be the record keeper only. The bundled solutions, it's going to be the record keeper doing the record keeping and the compliance services and things like that. So traditional is going to be your very base service model. Then you have your exchange quotes. So exchange quotes are solutions on RFP Express where there's going to be another party servicing the plan. So you might have these solutions might have a 338 solution or a 338 person that's handling that part of the solution. You'll also have possibly 316 services as well that are built into this pricing. So that is the exchange. We also in the industry we also call it turnkey solution. So you have different language for that. Then you have your PEPs. So when it comes to RFP Express, we really design this system to favor how to show PEP pricing. I know PEP pricing can be very complicated, but you'll see we already have a ton of different PEP solutions within RFP Express. We have one MEP solution up there as well. And the advantage is that the system at the very output is going to break down the PPP, the TPA, the 316, the 338, the record keeper. All these important components that make up that solution are going to be made known to the client and to the advisor as well when it comes to presenting the output of the report. So next, we're going to dive into what each of these squares essentially shows. So for example, I'm just going to go to census here. We're looking at a unbundled solution. I'm going to hit on view option details. Now, this allows you to see from the top what parties are involved. So this was an unbundled solution, so I don't have a TPA listed just yet. Tells me what the name of the lineup is how much a census is going to be charging. And we do show you the percentage and dollar equivalent of those fees. The investment cost does pull in directly from the investment lineups that are being offered by the record keepers. So we have standardized the estimated allocation percentages within these lineups. The record keepers decide what funds they are going to offer alongside those estimated allocation percentages. The neat thing is, because we have these standardized estimated allocation percentages, this allows apples to apples comparison on the fund lineups. So you don't have to worry about, okay, is this solution offering way more stable value asset discount on it or not? Is this solution offering more of a QDIA pricing or not? Now, even though those different pricing levers might be available as a discount with the record keepers, at least on RFP Express, you're getting a standard quote. So no one's giving you any gimmicks on that. Then you have your advisory cost, which would have come up if I had included advisory fees, and then your estimated total here. Now, for this unbundled solution, when I click on compare, you're going to notice that the system is going to allow me to add a TPA into this solution. So this is going to be very similar to what you see on our fees cards. And you'll just follow each prompt accordingly. You have the option of adding this fee to all your unbundled quotes that you might select. Otherwise, you can add it to only your unbundled quote for census or in this example. And the system, when I click on save, is going to add that fee into the quote that I selected. So now you'll see we went from 40 basis points to 58 basis points here. And there's the TPA cost. It's all automatically calculated. We listed the TPA selected in this example. So now you can move forward with this quote. So that's more your traditional quote, whether that would have been bundled or unbundled. We do have a few exchange quotes as well. So for example, my fiduciary path has an exchange as well. You'll see that Empower's got their fund lineup already listed here, their investment fees and things like that. So I'm going to select one of those. And then as I make my way down, you're going to see that we do have a few PEP solutions as well. So for example, Paychecks here has their PEP solution. That's their PEP lineup. I could come in here and add that solution there as well. We do have some open architecture solutions. So you'll notice Paychecks, for example, has that add investment expense. When I open this up, you'll see that the record keeping fee is listed here, but there's no fund lineup. It's labeled open architecture or open arc. Essentially, Paychex is telling us, hey, listen, it doesn't matter what funds you use. We have no fund restrictions when it comes to what we're quoting you on. So the way this works is when I click on the compare option, I'm going to hit, the system will allow me to add an investment expense. And I could just tell the system I'm estimating about 18 basis points on the fund lineup that I will be finalizing with this client. And what happens is in a second, you're going to see it now adds that 18 basis points into the total cost for this quote. So we do have a few record keepers that are offering open arc quotes. So you'll see that we have definitely a huge variety of different record keepers. About 30 different record keepers are participating in RFP Express right now. And depending on the demographics of your plan, not every single record keeper is going to come up. So for example, I know a popular one in the market right now is Fidelity. There's Fidelity. They don't start until 1 million. So if you have a plan that's below 1 million, they're not going to come up. So a little bit of information like that is going to go a long way for you. We do have a provider overview, which I'll show you at the end, that'll tell you all the different plan thresholds, asset size thresholds of each of the record keepers and their solutions. So now I'm going to make my way down. I've been talking a lot about instant quotes and how easy it is to use instant quotes. Let's talk about custom quotes. So for example, I know Meritas doesn't have instant benchmark or instant quote options just yet, but when I click on request a custom quote, we can now communicate what we want from them. So I can tell them I want a bundled solution. If they have multiple platforms available, that'll come up here. So I will select their one, and then I could select investment lineup as well. So I can select their Express lineup, their Open Arc. If you have proprietary fund pricing that you want to request, you can do that. You can make that selection. You can type in your specific instructions on what's making that proprietary. So maybe you have 80% of funds within your target date series. That's going to be important information for the record keeper to know, because then they'll be able to give you much more competitive pricing based on how the assets are allocated. If you work in the capacity of an advisor transition fee or essentially a finder's fee, for example, you can add that into the pricing as well, and that'll tack it on top of whatever's going to be quoted. And once you're done here with specifying what custom quote you want, you can hit submit. Now, this prepares your custom quote. It doesn't send it out just yet. What happens is at the very bottom, you do have to hit request and compare quotes. What happens is when I click on request and compare quotes, this sends out an email to all of the listed record keepers, including the custom quote one. And they're going to obtain right off the email all of your information, how to reach out to you, the plan demographics that this quote is going to be based on. They're going to have all of that information readily available so that they can better service you when it comes time to having a conversation about what you're looking for in the quote and things like that. So with that being said, you might get an email or a phone call just saying, hey, listen, saw that you requested our instant quote. Happy to have a further discussion about that. Let me know if you have any questions. So that is something that a lot of our partners are actively just reaching out, letting you know they're there to help you out if you need it. So let's talk about the screen. We've got the quote comparison chart. So on the left side, we have our plan fees prism um, data that is being compared against the other quotes. Essentially, this is taking the average, the 50th percentile average of plans within the similar size as this plan. I believe this plan was a $1.8 million plan with about 70 participants. So it is taking plans of that size and it's giving me the average cost of each of our components that we're looking at here. If you don't want that to be included in the report, you can just hit that display plan fees prism average. You can just uncheck that and that'll remove it from the quote comparison chart. Let's talk about the incumbent. So you do have the option to include and display the incumbent. And if I uncheck that, that's going to remove the incumbent. I'm going to add that back in. And I don't know if you remember, but you can still edit the incumbent's information here as well. So I did mention, hey, if you don't know the incumbent's fees in the very beginning of the report, that's okay. You can come in and add it later. And that'll come in here as well. Those TPA fees that I added to this census quote, maybe I changed my mind and I had a conversation with someone else on pricing, so I can make that change. I can then change and update the fees, and then that'll translate to the quote comparison chart, which then translates to the output. When it comes to order, I can actually move these columns around. So if I have a specific plan on how I want to present things, I can definitely do that. Maybe I want to start with the PEP solution, kind of ease them into that conversation and use the Paychecks PEP solution here. If they're not going to be interested in that, maybe I could save that to the very end of this list and just say, hey, listen, at the very end, we've got Paychecks and their PEP here. When it comes to fund lineups, I can click on the fund lineup and preview it one more time just to remind myself Okay, here's what the fund lineup looks like. This is what they're offering. Am I happy with that? Emeritus at the end with the custom quote. So when they respond to the custom quote, you will get a notification email directly to you, the listed advisor. It'll say something along the lines of Emeritus has responded to your custom quote. Please take a look at it, and you'll get a notification email there. Now, when you're on the screen, maybe you had a conversation with the client. They're like, hey, listen, we're not actually interested in PEPs at the moment for whatever reason. I can actually remove this solution right here at the bottom. What that's going to do is move it to this section, removed quotes. I'm going to do the same with the custom quote here. Let's say you change your mind and you go, okay, well, listen, actually, we had further discussion. I'm going to throw that back into the report. I can just restore that solution back into the view details. And from here, I'm ready to go. So I can generate a report. I can add plan fees back into it. When I click on generate, do I want it to show my logo or not? Yes or no? The presentation date, and then I could hit generate and download the report. And essentially you can have a report ready within no more than 10 minutes. And it really depends on what you're looking to do with your client. Now, RFP Express is a great way to ease the conversation into starting the benchmark a plan. You know, when is the best time to use RFP Express? In the very beginning, you can use it and just say, hey, listen, I did a quick a survey on quotes out there in the market for your plan. Here's what I pulled up on RFP Express. Then the client or the prospect might be shocked by the fact that you were able to pull this so fast. They'll say, hey, listen, yeah, I think I want to do a deeper dive into benchmarking our plan, or at least look at the finalists for this plan. So then you can move that conversation to the provider analysis reports and do more of a deeper dive into that. Maybe they wanted specific services, specific fund line up changes and things like that. So RFP Express can be more of a gateway into diving into a more in-depth reporting. It's also a great prospecting tool. So you might be going into a prospect meeting in the next hour and think to yourself, hey, listen, you know what? I have the basic information I need to run an RFP Express report. Why don't I just come in here, pull in the plan demographics, and pull in some of the record keepers that I'm seeing here, most likely your preferred record keepers, or maybe record keepers that this prospect was interested in. And then you can have this report readily available in the next hour. So again, RFP Express has a lot of great uses in that. It is also great to use when it comes to Plan Fees Prism. So you can also show, hey, listen, alongside that conversation of trying to get, or not trying to get you to move to a different record keeper, but trying to up your services, whether that means on the current record keeper or to a different record keeper, I'm also saving you money on the fees that we're seeing here as well. So tons of different ways to use it. You can use it in the beginning, you can use it at the end. It's really up to you on how you want to go about it. Now let's talk about the output of the report. All right, so you should be able to see the output. This is the title page. It's going to have the client information, the date, your advisor information as well. Your disclosures will load at the very bottom of the title page as well. The next page we have is the benchmarking process, just gives a quick illustration on what goes on behind the benchmarking process, what's involved, and what is taken into account. Then we have our plan assumptions. So what is all this information based on? What's all this pricing based on? Here's how big the plan is. Here are the contributions and distributions, whether advisor comp is included or not. Then you have your service provider summary. So this is a really important page when it comes to presenting PEP solutions or exchanges, because we have investment fiduciary listed, we have the PPP listed, the 316. If these are parties that are going to be involved in servicing the plan, the client will or prospect will be able to see those parties listed here. This also details what type of solution you're looking at. Is it traditional? Is it exchange? Is it a PEP or MEP? Then you have your total fee summary. So love the color output on this. It kind of just pops out for you, makes it a really nice, clean look. You've got your dollar and your percentage equivalents of what each record keeper is going to charge for record keeping. If there's TPA fees that are included, that'll show up here. Everything is shown side by side right next to each other. If there was an exchange or if there was a PEP solution here, you'd be able to see that there's an investment fiduciary fee as well. Next page is our fee details. So from here, you can see that the system is able to break down what the record keeping cost, how it's broken down, what components are involved. So we have the asset charge, we have a base fee, we have a per participant fee. If there's a 316 fee, the system would be able to tell you, hey, is this included? Is this an additional charge? What's going on there? So anything in parentheses is going to the TPA. So if I read this here, the way to read it is it's $3,100 going to census, and then an additional $1,000 that's going to go to the listed TPA. So it's not within the 3,100, it's in addition to. And then the same would go for Fidelity over here. They're going to charge 16 basis points as an asset charge, and then the TPA is going to charge an additional 10 basis points for doing the TPA fees. So this is a great page to kind of break down what costs, what fee components are involved in the quotes that you're going to be looking at. So most of you, if you're familiar with our provider analysis benchmarking system, you might be familiar with the 500 data point questionnaire that we have from each record keeper. And I'm sure you miss reading 500 data points, but in RFP Express, we've narrowed that down to about 30 questions. So really high level, does a pretty neat job just showing you what each record keeper can bring to the table, what their total AUM is, total participants, just kind of some high level information to have an idea on how big each of them are when it comes to servicing the plan. Then you have your investment lineups. So each of them is going to have their own page. You're going to have your expense data and what quarter it's based on. You're going to see the allocation as well as the scores, the fund name, and their expenses, as well as the weighted average expense in there. Now, for any quotes that are open architecture, they will not have a page here. Kind of makes sense. It's open arc. It doesn't matter what funds you're using. The record keeper is going to charge you the same. So they wouldn't have a fund lineup page for them. Then you have your provider summary. So each record keeper gets a one pager on why you should do business with them, kind of trying to win you over on that. And then you have your provider disclosures, which I always recommend. Every advisor reads through these disclosures just to make sure they understand what goes into this instant quote benchmarking quote. Instant pricing is a delicate process, so it's always nice to know exactly what you're diving into when you're obtaining these instant quotes. And then you have our system disclosures at the very end. So RFP Express, the advisor experience on RPAG, the output experience for the client or the prospect are very, very easy, very, very quick. We are so happy that you have an interest in RFP Express. So if you're not using it just yet, I highly recommend you get a demo in with our support staff, or you sign up and get started on benchmarking any one of your plans. Each report could take no more than 5-10 minutes to do. One thing I do want to point out is our RFP Express provider overview. So this provider overview gives a quick breakdown on what the RFP Express process looks like. But then if you remember earlier in this meeting, I had mentioned that we're able to tell you what asset thresholds and what plan types are available for each solution. So you'll see here, I split it up by PEPs and MEPs, by exchange solutions or turnkey solutions, and then you have our traditional solutions. And you'll see each of them is going to have different starting points. Not each of them, but most of them are going to have different starting points on when their pricing begins. Um, some go only up to 5 million. Some only go up to 10 million. Others can go all the way up to however big your plan is. It really depends on what you're working with. So if you're running an RFP Express report and you're curious and wondering why is this record keeper not coming up, keep in mind that your plan might fall out of their threshold for instant quote benchmarking. Now, does that mean that you can't request a custom quote? No, of course, you can absolutely request a custom quote. You'll see what's available for custom quotes on this page. Now, I do want to point out when it comes to instant quotes, those are for new business only. So let's say you're working on an Empower plan of yours. You're not going to see Empower and all of their price or instant quote pricing available for you. And that's because we here at RPAG, as agnostic as we are with all our record keepers, feel that repricing or rebid pricing really should be a conversation to be had with a record keeper, with your relationship manager. That way they can give you the best pricing possible, as well as know exactly what you're looking for when it comes to rebidding. So this provider overview page can be found in the Resource Center. And from the Resource Center, you're going to go into RFP and fee benchmarking section. And then from there, you're going to see the RFP Express section there. And then that's where you're going to be able to obtain it. I greatly appreciate your interest on RFP Express, on the benchmarking systems we have here at RPAG. You can reach out to support@rpag.com. Thank you.